Ion Franchising, it must be Friday. We're going to discuss an amazing upscale thrift store. Talk about, I guess it's the right timing, anytime to save money on amazing goods. And we're going to hear more on that from the co-CEOs. And how they even do this, I'm not sure.
Up next,
For our franchisees, it looks unsexy to begin with, which I love, but then you dive in, it's a lot of fun.
People are saying, wait a second, can you believe that this is Lululemon and I can get it for $20? What is this place? I've never seen anything like this.
I call it the aha moment. At what point did you guys look at each other and realize we got something really big here?
this episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing.
Co-CEOs and brothers, Tyler and Zach Gordon, Uptown Cheapskate and Kid to Kid. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Lance. We are so excited to be on your show today.
Super excited to have you both. How do you convince someone that reselling secondhand fashion is a scalable, sexy franchise model?
I love that question, and I'd say there's two parts to it, Lance. The first part, so let's take scalable. From an industry fundamental standpoint, it's honestly incredible. It's about as good of an industry backdrop as you could manufacture in a laboratory. So $50 billion market just here in the US alone, growing close to double digits, recession-resilient, highly fragmented, tariff-proof, relevant more recently. So again, it's this perfect concoction of attributes at an industry level, and so just so much room to develop a platform of scale. And then on the sexy side, I think it's interesting when I've ever focused on where should people spend their time from a business standpoint, from an investment standpoint, I think there's a strong argument that you actually want to focus on the industries that are decidedly unsexy because they're less trafficked and less competitive. I think we've got a really interesting one in the context of thrift where it appears unsexy on first blush, but the more you dig in, and especially with our concepts, the more you realize that it's such a vibrant, such an exciting industry. There's so much attention, especially with younger generations targeted towards thrift. You also can feel really good about what you're doing. So this is not sustainability in a window dressing type way. There's real alignment. And so there's so many elements that I think it actually makes it decidedly pretty sexy. Think about malls 30, 40 years ago. That was the place everybody wanted to go hang out, where you met your friends, where you spent all of your free time. That's now our stores. And so for our franchisees, it looks unsexy to begin with, which I love, but then you dive in, it's a lot of fun.
I love the story about the guy that used to drive by one of your stores, had not gone in one at that point. He's like, what the heck is this place? The parking lot is jam-packed. Is it a cheesesteak place or is it a skating rink? What is this place? And he goes in to figure out what the heck is going on and what he's missing out on.
And I'd say what actually makes that story even better is even when he walked in the door, he still had no idea what it was because it resembled this high-end boutique feel, very vibrant. But then you look at the prices and you're like, this can't be real. And so I think most people have this perception of thrift, oh, it has to be dusty, it has to be dirty, has to be disorganized. Who knows? Maybe there's a smell associated with it. And so he ends up realizing, wow, this is a thrift store. Fast forward now, 24 months later, and he's opening his second and third Uptown Cheapskate. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's really funny at our grand openings, and Tyler and I will try to make it to as many of our grand openings as we can, although we have a lot of them. It's almost like our marketing team is planting people in the stores. If you just walk around and keep your ear open, people are saying, wait a second, can you believe that this is Lululemon and I can get it for $20? What is this place? I've never seen anything like this. Wait a second, so you buy clothes from the community, so I could come here and sell you clothes, and then I also can browse and buy clothes from you. It's not only our brands that people are unfamiliar with, it's frankly our sort of more professionalized business model. And we've found that when they see our stores for the first time, they really like what they see.
Well, everybody likes saving money. Saving money is just as sexy as making money as a franchisee, right?
Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of pride, and I'm sure we'll get into this, in terms of the business opportunity and the financial opportunity we can offer our franchisees. But if you focus on the customer level, because that's obviously the most important lens ultimately, can you deliver really differentiated, really consistent value to your customers? In this world of fast fashion, where so many people have historically gone towards the Temus and the Sheins of the world, our stores allow individuals just an incredible suite of attributes. So it's accessibility of these high-end brands that might otherwise be out of reach. It's individuality. You're not going to walk into school or into a bar wearing the same thing as a dozen other people. There's the sustainability element of it, where you can feel really good about helping deliver a better future. It's a really unique combination of attributes, especially when you then wrap it in that kind of upscale shopping experience. And that's really what drives it all. If you deliver that consistently great value to customers, turns out sales and profitability will follow.
Yeah, I have to ask, when you look at both brands, Uptown and Kid to Kid, is it Gen Z? Who is the customer that's so gaga over everything you guys are doing? Is it the moms shopping for the kids and Kid to Kid? Give me the generational thing here. I know everybody loves to save money and find those products. And I have to throw in there that when you mention Temu, there's obviously no disappointment when you go to your stores, because you see and touch and feel the product, as opposed to it showing up and you're like, oh, what the hell is this?
And it disintegrates 12 months later.
Yeah. Look, I would say that there's a distinction probably between the brands. The center of gravity for Uptown will be consumers aged, call it 15 to 35 years old, although there's kind of wiggle room on both ends of that spectrum. So really what you're talking about is Gen Z and Millennials. And I would say in both cases, but especially in the case of Gen Z, thrifting is really cool. And it's not just like what Tyler said, hey, let's go to Uptown and see what we find and hang out there for an hour. It's let's watch professional thrifters on TikTok. So there are professional thrifters who are just going around to stores like ours, including ours, and just sort of live streaming from, let's say, an Uptown. Hey, look at this incredible find. And they'll have 100,000 people watch their videos. So I would say Uptown, center of gravity is going to be Gen Z and Millennial, although really, like you said earlier, value is pretty appealing to just about everybody. On the kid-to-kid side, naturally, we're catering to parents and grandparents, so maybe the center of gravity is a little bit older. So millennials, maybe even some Gen X if it's grandparents, and then maybe the older cohort of Gen Z. And I would say that while kid-to-kid is a place definitely that people bring their kids to, and so there's kind of a hangout component at kid-to-kid maybe as well, I would say that the need state that we're servicing at Kid to Kid is definitely more practical, just value oriented. I've got 3 kids. The amount of stuff that I go through in a given month, even that's probably the cycle time, because I've got 3. One of them is outgrowing something basically every single month. The amount of stuff both that I no longer have utility for and I'd love to turn back into cash, and then the next size up, the amount of stuff that I need to buy, is basically unlimited over time. And we're talking about a 10-year, maybe 12-year period, right, from birth up to 12 years old that we're catering to at Kid to Kid. So really what we're providing at Kid to Kid is an exchange where parents like me, frankly, who don't have unlimited money, but do have what seems like unlimited needs for toys and equipment and apparel and shoes, it solves both of those problems. What am I going to do with the obsolete inventory, and how am I going to get my hands on the next batch of stuff that I need?
Yeah, and I think it's helpful to think about it from a cultural standpoint too. I mean, when all of us were growing up, I think there was, again, decidedly a negative stigma around thrift. And today, you fast forward a few decades later, it's not just disappeared, but for younger generations, those millennials, the Gen Z, it's inverted. To Zach's point, it's now cool to shop thrift. People love walking out and saying, look what I just got. Ask me how much I paid. Yeah, I just paid $5.99 for something that idiot down the street paid 5 times as much for. And so what you're seeing is just, again, this growing wave of customers flocking to thrift more broadly. And then I would say where our concepts really fit in is we are just turning the traditional expectation of thrift on its head, where a barrier to entry for a lot of older generational customers would be, again, this dusty, dirty, smelly perception. If you can get all of the combination of advantages of traditional thrift, but in a really high-end boutique experience, why would you ever shop full price again? And so we're starting to gain traction with just about everybody. Now, yes, it's the millennials, the Gen Z, who are just flooding to our types of concepts. But our hope is to make our stores and the in-store experience so compelling that it's relevant for just about everybody.
So what is the hottest stuff that people are looking for? You mentioned Lululemon. I would imagine gently used Lululemon stuff is a hot commodity in the stores.
There's no question about it. Our top brands are populated with athletic or athleisure brands, so Lululemon, Nike, Adidas, but then also kind of staple brands like American Eagle, Hollister, Madewell. So all very recognizable brands. I would say that represents the bulk of what we're selling in our stores. You'd be amused, though, what's currently in fashion. It's basically back to the 90s. It's crop tops. It's, Doc Martens. The bigger the sole, the better. Again, you'd be shocked. Even one, I was at a grand opening last December in Minnesota, and somebody came in, they remembered they had seen a pair of jeans in the store while the store was during its open to buy period, so it was just buying inventory, wasn't selling it out to the community yet. And he was desperately looking for this pair of jeans made by Jinko, so JNCO. These are the skater pants from the 90s that look like they're 5 sizes too big. Those are back in style.
When Sassoon and Gerbeau come back from my era, let me know. Let's talk about marketing. Anybody listening that is interested in being a franchisee, a lot of it becomes, well, what are they going to do for me? Well, you just answered part of it. You guys do well on social media, but on the marketing side, talk a little bit about that. And for fun, why don't you give us something maybe that surprised you how well it might have worked in the world of marketing and promotion for a new store opening, perhaps?
Yeah, I would say it's interesting. When we think about marketing, so many brands or companies, including ones that Zach and I have worked for over the course of our career, really struggle to come up with a compelling pitch. And they try to massage different parts of their value proposition to seem even better than the reality presents itself. In our case, our problem is actually quite the opposite, which is we have so many different combination of advantages. Which are the ones that we should highlight in a given advertisement? Again, is it the price point? It is the individuality or the breadth of our assortment? Is it the alignment with sustainability? Is the local community orientation of our stores? There's so much that we can highlight. And so we try to be creative of combining those elements in a way that really resonates with our audience. And so again, very good problem to have. In terms of a unique or maybe surprising type of promotion, I think a lot of retailers are accustomed to drawing people into their stores by price-driven promotions. Hey, Lance, I would love to get you in my store. You haven't come in a while. Here's 20% off. Here's 30% off. Hell, take 50% off. And so it's a price-driven promotion that ultimately sacrifices margin. In our case, we have a real advantage that every single item in our store is one of one. Every single one is unique. And so our promotions increasingly are what we call full price events. And so what we're highlighting is the scarcity and the quality of the inventory that we have at an everyday, always unbeatable price. And so, hey, we're going to be doing a Lululemon drop this coming Saturday. Come in, we're going to unveil a huge rack of Lululemon. None of it is on sale. It's all full priced, but you are going to get there and wait online before our doors open because you want the first pick. Those events have done staggeringly well. And so it really just highlights that if you can deliver that best-in-class value for really high-quality, in-demand brands, people will show up to your store, rain or shine. I mean, one of our stores had I think it was a Lululemon drop, but nonetheless, it was a full-priced event. And it was in the middle of, I think, what could be qualified as a monsoon. So they were planning to have some of it outdoors on racks, had to put up a ton of tarps over the outside of their store so everything wouldn't get wet. And it broke all of their records in terms of sales in a day. Because again, just for people to get there to buy things that are full price.
I love it. That's amazing. Talk about your franchisees. If you were going to think of your top 10 or even 5 franchisees, where do they come from and who is ideal for either one of your brands?
I would say they come from
Go ahead,
all
Jeff.
walks of life. Yeah, I would say they come from all walks of life. There's no necessarily common thread among our top 5 or top 10 franchisees in kind of, let's say, a professional background sense. I would say that much more important are some sort of softer qualities, let's say. People who really want to be in the business. I would say that that's definitely a hallmark. You know, passive income is all the rage these days. And I would say that if you manage one or a platform of our stores well over time, certainly you can find yourself not spending all that much time in our stores. But I would say that the people who do really, really well are the people who love the business. And I would say that it's kind of an addictive business. It's almost like there are 100 different puzzles all over the store, and to the extent that you can solve them, you will serve your customers better and you'll make more money. So they're really fun puzzles to solve. So if you like solving puzzles and you want to be in the store, I would say that would be descriptive of all of our top franchisees. Very organized, I would say, and good with people as well. Unavoidably, what we're describing in terms of this hangout spot, probably not the best business for somebody who's more introverted and not as interested in interacting with people. So highly engaged, focused on creating a really positive atmosphere in their store. So again, what I'm describing here doesn't necessarily correlate with, oh, I used to, work in restaurants, or I used to work in retail, or, hey, I have a corporate background. Really, it's much more about the personality traits and willingness to work hard, for sure, of the individuals.
Got it. When it comes to, I call it the aha moment. At what point did you guys look at each other and realize we got something really big here? We're going to blow this thing up.
I would say for me, it was definitively after I had spoken. It's a great follow-up from the last question. It's after I had spoken to about 5 or 10 franchisees. Tyler and I actually, this was at this point many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we first considered becoming franchisees. So we were thinking about becoming franchisees for, easily a year, I would say. We were exploring different markets just because we were so excited about the business. And during that process, even reasonably early on in that process, I just spoke to as many franchisees as I could. And it turns out that it's not that hard to find the contact information for franchisees. In fact, it's right there in the FTD. So I was able to speak with, maybe 20 or 30 franchisees. But I would say even after just speaking to 5 or 10, I was shocked at a couple of things. One, they were talking about how much they loved the business and how it had changed their life financially. 2, how constructive they were, how excited they were about the future. In the backdrop of everything we're talking about in terms of thrift and its growth, in terms of our concepts within that industry. And then 3, there's a question that I always really like to ask because it kind of synthesizes everything, which is, would you do this again? Right? If you got in your time machine, you asked yourself, or you could speak to yourself at the decision point, whenever that was, to join the franchise, would you do it again? And every single person, it was without hesitation, absolutely. And I've worked in franchising for a while, and that's not what you get, I would say, in a lot of cases.
Absolutely amazing. Zach, I'm sure you have something to add to that.
Look, yeah, I would say, so Tyler, I don't know if you want to throw something in, but look, I would say if that, 5 to 10 person group was the first group that I spoke to, and maybe even jump the gun because, we've got hundreds of franchisees and I was jumping up and down after only speaking to 5 or 10 of them, I would say absolutely that initial sample has been representative. Not only of the franchisees that were already affiliated with Uptown and Kid to Kid at that point in time, but now thinking about the franchisees who have opened stores since we've been at Base Camp over the last 3 years, these are phenomenal people who are all so excited to be in this business, not only for their own personal gain, but frankly to help each other out. One thing that I've been shocked at, just as a reflection of that, is I mentioned that Tyler and I, try to get out to a bunch of different grand openings. Every single grand opening we've been to, there's been another franchisee, at least one, often multiple, that has traveled to that grand opening, sometimes across the country, on their own dime, to help out, to fold clothes and to help customers find merchandise that they're looking for. It really is so different than just about any other franchise concept, at least that I've had exposure to.
That's amazing. So with all of that wonderful validation, you mentioned things like that they love the brand, it changed their life. These are things that people I talk to every day, probably 6 people today alone, that want to know, well, how do I know if I found the right brand? And I explain to them, through validation, you have an opportunity where you're going to get to speak to existing franchisees. And when you speak to enough amazing franchisees, and I always say, try to talk to the best franchisees. They know exactly what's going on. They know why some people are the bottom performers, perhaps. But in your case, let's talk about money. How much money can you make? You do $1 million a year on these stores?
Yeah, so I would say that as Zach and I think about what our job is here at Base Camp, so the parent company that sits above Uptown and Kid to Kid, really our singular mission is to maximize the profitability and satisfaction of our franchisees. Profitability ends up being the one that's easiest to measure, so it's one we spend a lot of time focusing on, and we firmly believe that the strength of a franchise system is not measured by the number of stores or locations you have, but based on the success of each individual store. And so that's how our entire team thinks about driving success. And I would say in that paradigm, we're really proud of the economic opportunity that we can offer franchisees. And so just take one of our 2 concepts, so Uptown Cheapskate. If you look at our most recent FDD and item 19 within that, you take a system average store, so no cherry picking. This is every single store that's been open for more than 12 months. AUVs there is about 1.3 million, and net income is about $188,000. And so that's getting pretty close to a 2-year unlevered payback. You then go to our top quartile stores, and that's 1.9 million AUVs and 354,000 of net income, all on an investment of just under about $500,000. So again, the payback periods, the yields on these investments are incredible. I would say that what gets us particularly excited is we feel we're only getting started. There is so much opportunity as we think about the potential of an individual store, as we think about the additional layers of support that we can provide, the technology backbone that already exists and that we're building out. There's a lot more runway for growth than what we've realized historically, but at least in our experience, having looked at dozens, if not hundreds of franchise systems, these are some of, if not the best that we have seen. But again, that doesn't mean we're complacent and happy with where we are. We want to take it to the next level and then the next level from there.
When it comes to staffing, guys, a lot of people are still concerned that it's hard to find people. It's hard to manage people. What do you say on that subject?
One thing that's really fantastic about our concepts, I hesitate to say unique because I'm sure that there are other businesses for which this is true. But when you think about Uptown, when you think about Kid to Kid, the population of people that are interested in coming to shop at Uptown and Kid to Kid are the exact same people as might want to work at an Uptown or a Kid to Kid. So in terms of finding really good employees, which by the way is always very challenging, so I don't want to make light of that challenge just at a macro level, but it's really handy to have your population of prospective employees just come through your doors every day to shop or to sell to you. So yeah, we find that a lot of the best employees, as you look at across our network, fit that description. They started as customers, and they saw the QR code, let's say, hanging in the doorway, accepting applications, now hiring, and found themselves working at an Uptown, doing what they would love to do with their free time anyway, right? Which is interacting with thousands of different brands, styles, items. One thing that's been very funny that some stores have actually caught on to in terms of social media marketing, we touched on that earlier, is just doing these really short clip interviews with staff members, having them guess how much money they've spent at the store. Because you can keep track of that. And in a lot of cases, it's like $5,000. Like, I think the highest one I saw was like $8,000 or $9,000 that the employee had spent in the store. So that I would say is a real benefit. You got to get people who are ready to work, right? Because the pace in our stores is very fast. It's not relaxed, like a Gap. But there are more than enough people who prefer to have the time fly by during their shift than to have it drip by, just waiting for their shift end.
Yeah, great stuff. Tyler, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the same dynamic Zach did about these social media videos. They're actually very entertaining, where the employee will stand up, typically by the register, and they'll have a sign in their hand, and facing away from them, it'll be written out how much they've spent in the store over the last 6 to 12 months. And the person behind the camera will say, "Hey, Zach, how much do you think that you've spent shopping at Uptown in the last 12 months? And Zach will go in and be like, "Oh, wow, I don't know if I want to know the answer, but let's call it $1,500. That's how much I think." And then it's like, "Well, flip over your card." And it's $4,000. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I've spent more in the store than I've gotten in my paycheck." But yeah, it's a really fun, vibrant atmosphere in the store. It's not for everybody. For people who don't like being on their feet, don't like a fast-paced environment, it's probably not going to be for them. But for people who love interacting with unique styles, with customers every day, it can be a really fun place to work.
Great. So guys, you've been awesome guests. Final thoughts, final words of wisdom, piece of advice perhaps for aspiring entrepreneurs on why they should consider a franchise.
Yeah, so I would say that there are a few things. There's franchising at large, and then there's our concepts within that paradigm. I would say franchising at large, if you find a really high quality concept, which isn't easy. There are thousands of franchise concepts out there in the US, and I would say that the majority of which, it's unclear whether or not they offer a really compelling value proposition to their franchisees. But if you find the right one, with a really strong underlying business model, a long-term oriented franchisor who's willing to make the investment and really prioritize franchisee success, the business model is incredibly valuable. There is so much that we can do in a centralized sense to help our stores succeed that just objectively would not make sense for an individual store owner. And so it's interesting when you think about what differentiates our concepts. I would say that the one most people would say is the obvious one, which is, hey, I walk into one of your Uptown or Kid-to-Kid stores, and again, it feels like a boutique as opposed to a traditional thrift store. And so that's the look, the feel, the energy of the store, and that's very obvious within the first 10 seconds of walking in. And that's really important, but far more important, at least in my mind, is the technology infrastructure of our stores, which really enables everything downstream. And so it could seem counterintuitive to people that we've got an over 20-person tech team here at Basecamp. We spend a few $1 million every single year, principally on software development, but around our technology more broadly. And it's our view that technology, a data-driven approach to every process and every decision in our store, takes what is inherently a very subjective business model. What do I buy? What do I price it at? What then should I pay out to the vendor? When should it go on my floor? When do I mark it down? A lot of that is subjective. In our context, with all the data we have and the investments in technology, it makes it not only objective, but highly manageable and highly profitable. And so I always like to think of this question, if you're evaluating a franchise, of what am I really getting for that upfront payment, for that ongoing royalty fee? And you better have a really good answer to that question. And if you find yourself searching for the answer, it's probably not a good fit. And so we always try to say, hey, I want to have a really compelling answer and make sure that the return on investment for that franchisee of signing up with us versus somebody else or doing it on your own is so attractive that it's a no-brainer decision.
So, Zach, you get the final word.
Look, maybe I'll circle back to the beginning of the conversation. I would say that validation is the most valuable thing that any prospective franchisee, so if you're an entrepreneur and you're considering becoming a franchisee, that would be top of my list, is just talk to people who are actually living and breathing the business that you're considering joining yourself, and talk to as many franchisees as you possibly can. Talk to the best franchisees, talk to the worst franchisees, talk to all of them, and really, really push on the questions that matter to you. So of course, hey, is the franchisor long-term oriented? Do they have your back? Are they really focused? They say they're focused on your satisfaction and profitability. Is that actually true? And just hear it straight from the franchisee community. I would say that I feel we have a really special community of franchisees, both at Uptown and at Kid to Kid. Frankly, we've got a lot of crossover, so individuals who own both brands. And so if nothing else, I would say if people are interested in learning more, you're going to have some really fun conversations. I can guarantee you that if you speak with some of our franchisees. I would say we try not to sell anybody, frankly, on joining Uptown or Kid to Kid. We try to be as transparent as possible about what we think is great about our concepts, what might be drawbacks based on people's different priorities and personality traits. And then we encourage people to make up their own mind. Do you think this is a fit for you? Because for those people for whom it is a fit, man, is it a fun business.
Well, we know we want to have fun. We want to make some money, even in the unsexy, boring businesses. So, gentlemen, Zach and Tyler, thank you both for being here. Uptown Cheapskate and Kid to Kid. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Lance. This has
Thanks,
been fun.
Lance.
My pleasure.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.